Summer at the River. We are here. We made it. And let me tell you guys, I love being a part of a church that is packed on 4th of July weekend. Like, let's go, River Church. And also, we know it is 4th of July weekend, so we have a lot of families that are taking a much-needed break, family vacation at the lake, in Florida, wherever it may be for them, and they are tuning in on us online because they say, even though we're on vacation, church is still a priority in our weekly part of our week. So would you give a big round of applause and welcome to everyone that's tuning in with us online for me? Thank you, thank you. Like I said, and like Zeb said in that video, it is summer at the river, and I'm not sure if any of you guys saw the reel that was posted this week from the River Church account, but part of Zeb and I's summer kickoff this week was that Pastor Matthew just came into our office one day and was like, hey, be ready at 9:30 tomorrow. And I'm like, okay. And so why working at the River Church is the best job in the world is that part of our weekly routine is that at 9:30 on Tuesday, Zeb and I were learning how to milk goats for the first time in a little outing. So if you haven't checked that out, check that reel out on our social media. We had a good time. If you have any other excursions you think Zeb and I should go on, let us know. But if you have not met me before, my name is Sam. I am the greatest privilege of being the pastor to our students here at the River. But you probably recognize me as the person who, when he does the River News, is a little too energetic, and so they keep me all this energy on the back corner of our church recently. But I like when I get to be in this corner with you all. So I'm so thankful to be here with you guys. And like Zeb said, that is not Alex Schuler, that is Zeb Nelson up there. And he said we are at Summer at the River, and because we're at Summer at the River, we have some incredible opportunities for you to take your next step here at the River. The first is, like Zeb said, we have Serve Day coming up in 2 weeks. Who's excited for Serve Day here? Yes, Serve Day I love Serve Day. Last year was our first Serve Day, and it was such a great success, so we're going to do it again this year. I love Serve Day because, like Matthew says often, there's 11,000 people within a 5-mile radius of the seat that you're sitting in right now that do not have a personal relationship with Jesus. We can say that we're light to them when they're here, and they can know that, but Serve Day allows us to say, even when you're not in our building, we still care about you, we still love you, and we want to be a light to you. And so I highly recommend that you sign up for Serve Day. And if you are a parent, this is an incredible opportunity for your whole family to serve alongside together. We have opportunities for people that have the greatest skills and the people that just need to pull weeds. Like any opportunity, it's there for you. And we would highly encourage that if you are interested in doing Serve Day, that you would sign up as soon as you can. I know if you're anything like me, you're kind of living a day at a time, and 2 weeks seems a little far away. But that just helps us because we can know how many serve projects we can take on by how many people we are estimating are going to be here. So that'll be awesome. But also on the same day, on Saturday, July 15th, we also have Revival Nights. Our first Revival Night, led by Zeb and Pastor Matthew, is going to be in Gas City that night on Saturday, July 15th. I have two favors I want to ask of you. The first, that is, if you are free on Saturday, July 15th at the night, we would love for you to be a part of what God has for us at Revival Nights. We need people in the seats to fill the space, but also I want you guys to be a part of Revival too. I want you guys to experience what the Spirit has too. So we'd love for you to be in attendance. But also, if you could spread the word, right? These kind of things succeed when there's a word of mouth and there have been things done beforehand, but this is our first one. And so the only way people are going to know is by word of mouth. So Brooks this morning posted a graphic on all of our social media pages. You can take that, you can share that, you can post it to your story, post it on the Instagram, screenshot it, whatever you do. This is your time, or you can take your phone out in the middle of church and share it right now. Pastor Matthew is away, but he is still sharing that this morning as well too, turning it online. So we'd love for you to get the word out about Serve Day, especially for those of you that live in Gas City and Jonesboro, because you're going to be the most connected to those people that need to hear that Jesus is Lord, to have what Caleb just prayed about, for that to be their reality on Saturday, July 15th. So we're excited, we're expectant, and let's dive in. We are in, like Zeb said, at Summer at the River, and this series, we were trying to think of as a staff what we wanted to do for Summer at the River. Last year we did a series about sharing your faith, and Matthew just kind of said, hey, I just want you to share what God has been speaking to you lately. And so for the next 5 weeks, you're going to hear from a different member of our pastoral team, and they're just going to answer that simple question: what's God teaching you lately? I'm super excited for this series because not only are we going to be teaching at you, but we're teaching with you, because these are things that are incredibly personal to us and things we haven't mastered but are learning with you. So I highly recommend to be here for our Summer at the River series. And my thing that God has been teaching me, I wish I could tell you. It was in this big divine appointment from God, where it was in a scripture or in a worship set. But I'm about to really Gen Z myself here. And my encounter with God happened in a TikTok. Now, if you don't know what TikTok is a social media platform that is popular amongst Gen Z, including myself, where it has about these series of 1 to 3 minute videos that you can just scroll and scroll and scroll until your heart's desire. And there's a thing on it called the For You page, which is for you. And the more you scroll, the more you like, the more you comment, the more accurate your For You page is, and the more like things that are your interests, your likes, things that you're gonna find funny, they're gonna pop up more. And so I got this app in the midst of when we all got sent home from college, because I just needed something to fill my time, right? We were all trying to figure out things to fill our time. And so I did, and I liked it, and I could share these videos with my friends, like, you'll never guess what this happened, or I'd share it with them and laugh, right? And then we got kind of back into reality, but I kept watching them. Because the hard part about TikTok is it's a 1 to 3 minute video, and you can think, oh yeah, like I have 1 to 3 minutes to spare, right? But one video turns into 2, which turns into 10, which turns into 20, and then you're 2 hours of scrolling and you have no idea where the time went, right? That is the magic of that app. But the problem is that I not think I'm shocking anyone when I say that social media and the internet is not always the most godly, right? It's not the most godly themes, right? And nothing was necessarily sinful, but maybe like the comments that were being commented were not the most loving and kind and merciful, right? And the videos started to use some language that is a little colorful, right? And they would promote things that weren't necessarily what I would promote, but I thought that I am so smart that I can watch this, filter through all the bad stuff in my brain, and still be okay. But I'm not. And so the more I'd watch it, I soon started to realize that I'd become more like the world and less like Jesus every single time I watched one. But it was an addiction. I couldn't stop. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna delete the app. What TikTok also has for it is this thing called FOMO, right? You have fear of missing out. Like there's gonna be a video, there's gonna be a sound, there's something that everyone's gonna know about, and you don't know about it. And also, it's a perfect boredom filler. And so I was bored, I had FOMO, so I'd re-download it, and Jesus would convict me again, and I'd delete it, and then I had FOMO, and it was this continuous cycle that I just couldn't break. I had to step aside and say, I'm addicted to this app. And so one morning, I was one of those mornings that I did not want to get out of bed. We've all been there. And I just woke up and I just want to scroll for a little bit. And so I scrolled, and I scrolled, and I scrolled. And I'm a late person, but I was like out of bed especially late that day. I just zoomed to get ready for work and got there, completely missing out my time with God. And so not only has this made me more worldly, but now it is detrimental to my faith. And so I was trying to wrap my mind around this, and I wrote this in my journal that next day. And I wrote, I'm addicted to my phone. It's bad. I'm addicted to my phone. I've tried deleting the apps, changing the location of where I put my phone, setting screen time limitations, but it never seems to work. I yearn for that time to unplug, to not be on, to shut off my brain and not have to be an adult for once. And that does for me a little bit, I guess, but it doesn't seem like any real fruit's coming from it. No joy comes, no relief comes. I think each time we different, but it isn't. I don't know when I become so lazy, so apathetic, so distracted. Jesus, would you fill me more? Have you been there? Maybe it's not TikTok for you, but this addictive behavior that you can't seem to stop. Or that thing that started as just a little thing and grew into a big thing, right? Maybe for you, it's that one friendship that you know that person is not good for you, and when you're around them, it sucks the life out of you. But whether it's some societal pressure or just feeling like this time will be different, you always continue around them. Maybe for you, it's what you consume, right? It's the media, the song, the people you're around. Maybe for you, it's oversharing, overeating. Maybe for you, it's pornography. Whatever maybe you have, each time you think, man, this is going to be different. This is going to be the time. It fills me up. It makes me feel good. And it never is. And you just feel like you can't stop. If that's you, you're not alone. Because even the times when we break that bad habit, the enemy knows how weak we are to this, so he'll introduce a new habit that you have to break again. And then a new habit. It's a continuous fight. Even Paul, one of the greatest champions of the faith, wrote this in the book of Romans. He wrote, I do not understand what I do. What I want to do, I do not do. What I hate to do, I do. Amen. Right? Like, this is a common human experience. You're not alone. But we can't stay there. So after this morning, I went and I had a meeting with a friend. So I was like, I'm just going to tell him all that's been going on, see what input he may have. And so I started sharing with him, and he said, Sam, sounds like you have a problem with self-control. And I was like, no, I don't. No, I don't. Because there's patience, maybe, going through the fruit of the Spirit, but I've never thought self-control. Because I would consider myself a control freak, right? I like to control things. I hear some amens coming from some of my people here. Yeah, we get, right? Because to give example, when I was in probably preteen, junior high, I was such a control freak around my house that I had my parents down to a strict meal schedule. So I knew every single day when I go to dinner on Thursdays that I would get a taco, because I would know that on Thursdays I would be satisfied when I got to the dinner table, right? That is the level of control freak that I have. So I don't have self-control. I have self-control, right? But I was realizing with TikTok, I was trying to control the life around me, right? I was trying to control when I felt off, the feelings that I had, my emotions, right? And in my attempt to control, I felt less and less in control. The more I tried to control, the more out of control I felt. So I've learned this to be true. Our perceived control is not self-control if you're being controlled by the world. Our perceived control is not actually self-control because you're actually being controlled by the world. So as I was studying about self-control and really digging into what God may have for me in this season, I was led to this passage here in the book of Matthew, chapter 16. Now, to set in context, in the book of Matthew, Jesus is shoreside with his disciples, and he had just told them that he's about to die. And all the disciples went through their, you will not die, Jesus, you're going to live forever, and we're going to protect you, and all this stuff that we ended up not being true, right? And so he follows up his conversation about that with these words. Then Jesus said to his disciples, whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves, take up their cross, and follow me. Whoever wants to save their life will lose it. Whoever loses their life for me will find it. What good will it be for someone to gain the whole world, yet forfeit their soul? Or what can anyone give in exchange for their soul? Amen. As I read this passage and I was journaling about it and I was thinking through it and talking with friends, this theme became really clear to me. What part of your faith is denying yourself? Right? It says, Jesus said, if you want to be my disciple, if you want to follow me, right? You have to deny yourself, take up your cross, and follow me. You see, I am really good at having an additive faith. Now, this is a Sam Karoff term, so let me explain what I got for you. An additive faith means things we add on to be closer to God. Right? Like this year, I've been really disciplined in my Bible reading. I haven't missed many days. Right? I'm continuously in prayer for my own walk, my wife, our community, my kids, right? I am being mentored. I am mentoring people. I serve students every day, right? Like even my worship playlist is my top playlist on Spotify, right? Like I get the faith thing. And a lot of us can feel like if we do all of that, then we are good with God. And let me tell you, an additive faith is not a bad thing. We need these things in order to further our relationship with Jesus. But if that's all we have, we're guilty of being a modern-day Pharisee. We're guilty of just doing everything that we're supposed to do, but not having the transformation that comes from it. You see, just additive faith isn't faith at all. It's just a hobby. Right? Think of it as your favorite sports team. Right? I'm a big St. Louis Cardinals fan, and so I have a St. Louis Cardinals jersey. I know who's all on the roster. I know we're doing really terrible right now. I got the hat. I go to the games, right? I do all that I can to learn more about this team that I'm a fan of. Right? A lot of us follow that with Jesus too. We do a lot to follow this person that we're a fan of, but that's it. We just become cultural Christians that look the part, act the part, say the things, have the outfit, but there's no transformation. Because our faith wasn't ever meant to just be additive. Our faith also requires subtraction. You see, there's this one of my favorite passages in the Bible is this big chapter about faith in Hebrews chapter 11, and it goes through all of these people that had great faith, and one of them, the author talks about, is Abraham, and it says, by faith, Abraham, when God tested him, offered Isaac as a sacrifice. He who had embraced the promises was about to sacrifice his one and only son. Amen. Abraham got it here. Faith requires subtraction. His subtraction was his son. He had enough faith to see that I'm going to go on this leap of faith for God, take away my son, and expect God will save his life. Expect God will fill in the gap. We think of this too at tithing, right? Tithing, we say in tithing that we believe when we give 10% of our income to the Lord, that God will do way more than the 90% that he can do with 100%. Right? There's subtraction there, and we expect God to fill in the gap. Faith is expecting God to move with less of us. So if our faith is just additive, if there's no denial of self, if there's no subtraction, is it really faith at all? Or is it just a hobby? Just something you're interested in, just something you're studying more of. And this passage that I read in Matthew, right beforehand, was this big moment where Peter had, for the first time, it was the first time in the whole biblical narrative that he had said that Jesus is the Messiah. This is a big moment because people had said that he's a teacher, he's a miracle worker, he's a prophet, he's going to do big things, but no one had said that he is God yet. And so this is almost like his salvation moment, right? And so I think that Jesus is very intentional here. He said when you come to know Jesus, the most common temptation is going to be to stick to following yourself. We live in a culture of following ourselves, and so Jesus does not magically change that. We have to make an effort. Say, Jesus, instead of following myself, following my desires, I'll follow you. But a lot of us like to change this verse up a little bit and say, follow me and I'll follow you. Right? If I follow you, Jesus, then you are like this magic pixie dust that sprinkles over all the things in my life and just makes them better. Right? I accept Jesus because I want the things in my life to be better. I want to have that job that I really want. I want to have that house. And, I can't do it on my own, so I just want Jesus to do it for me. And when we say that out loud, that can sound kind of crazy, but a lot of our lives are acting like that. A lot of our lives look like just cultural Christians that hope that God makes better our already conceived lives. We don't want to take the step of life transformation. Follow me, I'll follow you. That's the mantra of our world, right? We live in a very transactional world that I will only put as much effort into someone as they put into me. I will only do this for them if they do what I want for them. And so if we're doing the same for Jesus, no wonder we have Jesus, but wonder why we still feel as empty as the rest of the world. Our lives have to look different. Right? Jesus said, no, not follow me and I'll follow you. No, follow me, take up your cross, deny yourself, and follow me. Because, guys, our faith has to be sacrificial. If the person that our whole life is modeled on is the one that went on the cross at Calvary, took up his life, took up his breath for us who have not even existed yet, and we say we model our lives after it, and not part of our life is sacrificial, is it really faith at all? Because our life, we're not created to be centered around us. The world was not created to be our world. It's our Father's world. We were created to have a life centered on Jesus, that we are a part of the mission that will one day lead to the complete transformation of the world. It's not meant to be about us, but if we look at our lives, we look at our prayer lists, we look at what we spend our time of, it seems pretty centered on us. We have to deny ourselves. Our faith has to be sacrificial, friends. And you may say, okay, Sam, I get this, but doesn't Jesus want me to be happy? Doesn't he provide good things and want me to enjoy the good things? If else, why would he give them to me? Well, then ask the question to yourself. Are those things actually making you happy? Are they actually making you fulfilled? I listened to a podcast yesterday that talked about this difference between rest and a refill. Are the things in your life just refilling you, giving you enough for the next day, maybe, if that? Or the things of your life providing soul-changing, life-altering rest with God? You see, earlier in the book of Matthew, Jesus says this. He says, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. My yoke is easy, and my burden is light." Amen. You see, the temptation of the enemy is to say that his way is the easy yoke. Because his way is faster, it's quicker, it doesn't require much effort out of us, right? His way is like the house with real good curb appeal, right? It's got the wraparound porch, the fountain out front, the circle driveway, the beautiful plants, right? It looks really nice on the outside. You walk on in. There's no fridge. There's no couch. There's nothing. It's unlivable, but it's got a really good curb appeal. Jesus' way is different. Jesus' way says, "Come to me, all who are weary and burdened," sound like you, "and I will give you rest, real rest. Take my yoke upon me. Do what I say, for you'll find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy, my burden is light." The way of Jesus is easy. It's burden-free. It's humble. It's gentle. And we really like this verse. But it says, "Take my yoke upon you and learn from me." That means, hey, do the things that I say, which one of them is deny yourself. See, we like to have this verse but not that one, and wonder why we're not getting the rest that Jesus says. They both coexist. It's an easy yoke, but it's an easy yoke when it's done God's way. But a lot of us, because we are naturally selfish creatures, we naturally want to satisfy ourselves. We like to toy on this line of how much do I actually need to deny myself and still be good with Jesus? How little can I put in and get the maximum amount of Jesus? And so we like to deny this little thing, this small thing that I could probably live my life without, right? We go for it. But there's something in each of us that is deep down that we're holding way too tightly. And we say, "Oh, God, no, God, not that, not that." What is that for you? What are you holding on to too tightly? For me, it was TikTok, but for me, it's more than that. I'll give you 4 things I think are really common in our culture to hold on to too tightly. The first one's our time, right? We hold our time and our schedules so tightly. I am a person of routine. Right? I like my days look similar, to have an expectation of what's going to happen, and it lives out that expectation. Right? And some of us, we have very, very full schedules that not a single thing can be moved around because there's no time. And if you think, if my schedule shook up a bit, if I didn't do this thing, if I didn't have this, then I I wouldn't be an okay Christian. Then I wouldn't be good. You're holding that too tightly. Are you holding your time too tightly, your schedule? Maybe not that. Maybe it's like me with TikTok. The voices, what you have input into your life, right? For me, it's maybe like the entertainment, right? The movie, the song, the social media, right? That is just constant input. That's not producing a lot of fruit out of you. Or maybe for you, it's that friendship, that relationship, that person that sucks that life out of you. But you just think each time it'll be better. And conversations aren't God honoring. When faith is brought up, it's a point of strife or awkwardness. Maybe the voices in your life are too loud and Jesus is just trying to peek out. If that's true, you're holding on to your voices too tightly. Or maybe, if you're like me and in my age demographic, it's your future. Right? We have been taught since we were 5 years old, what's going to be your job? What is your life going to look like? Right? When you want to get married, how many kids do you want to have? Right? There's all of these timeline things that from the 5 years old we start creating them. We want that. Then we have a certain time that we say, hey, Jesus, this is how my life's going to happen. We're going to get this job. We're going to make this amount of money. We're going to have this house with the white picket fence, right? We have a dream, and dreams are not bad. But sometimes Jesus said, hey, my dream I have for you is better. It's far greater than what you can think, ask, or imagine. But we say, I want to keep mine. This is too important to me. This is all I've dreamed about. That's true about you, your future timeline. You're holding your future too tightly. Or parents in the room, what about your kids? Are holding on your kids too tightly? I'm not a parent. I don't want to pretend like I am. I'm just a dog dad. But I spend a lot of time around kids. I see lots of families, lots of students. And one thing that has been made so apparent to me recently is we have a lot of really, really anxious kids. A lot of kids that are really fearful. A lot of kids that need security, right? And so we naturally, as you guys, I'm not a parent. You guys naturally as parents want to shield them from that. I don't want you to be afraid of that either. No, I don't want you to have that anxiety either. And so we try to shield them from it. But didn't you, the greatest lessons that God has taught you came from something when you messed up? Came from a decision you had to make on your own? Why do we want to prevent our kids from that? If your kids are hearing more from you than they are from Jesus, hold on to your kids too tightly. So I don't know what it is for you, but whether it's the time, your voices, your future, your kids, Habakkuk says this about it. Of what value is an idol carved by a craftsman or an image that teaches lies? For the one who makes it trusts in his own creation. He makes idols that cannot speak. Woe to him who says to wood, come to life, or a lifeless stone, wake up. Can it give guidance? It's being covered with gold and silver. There's no breath in it. Amen. We are trying to create life out of things that were never meant to give us life. Create fulfillment out of things that were never made to created to make us feel fulfilled. Trying to feel loved by things that were never made to make us feel loved. And we wonder why we feel so empty. We were not designed to live a life where we get to satisfy every urge, every temptation, every desire we have. Because all of that is temptation, and all of that comes from the enemy. Do you want to have a life that's led by the enemy? So then why do you feel the need to have to satisfy every single urge you have, every single desire? Because we're not smart enough. We're not smart enough to have reign over our life. Give it to God. If you're like me and you struggle with self-control in any of these areas, these are two non-negotiables for you. Two non-negotiables for you. The first is accountability. Now, one of the big things we're about here at the River is for you to find freedom. And we think one of the best ways for you to do that is in a life group. We want every single one of you to be involved in a life group. My life was changed with a life group. But If you're showing up to that life group, to that person's house, every week, you're expecting a good discussion, a good message, and to laugh a little bit, and then come home, that life group's never gonna find you freedom. We find freedom through tough conversations, through prayer, through people holding you accountable. If you don't have those friends in your life, you're never gonna find freedom. You're never gonna get self-control. I think of those kind of accountable friends as like the gas light in your car, right? Every single time it goes on in my car, I'm like, because I know I'm gonna have to fill it up. I'm gonna spend way more money than I have to. I'm usually in the middle of nowhere or in a hurry. But I would so much rather have the light go on at 50 miles than at 0, at 2. I want the warning before I'm empty, right? That's what your accountable friends are for you. They give you the warning before you're completely empty, before you make that mistake that you cannot turn back from. You need accountability. The second is fasting. Now, I have a big tub of books in my house that I said that I read in college. I didn't. I'm saying it here from the stage, right? But one of them I did is this book called Celebration of Discipline by Richard Foster. And it goes through a bunch of disciplines that we can follow as Christians, right? There's praying, and there's Bible reading, and there's worship, right? And one of them he talks about is fasting. And something that stood out to me, he said, hey, if you're struggling with self-control, fasting is the number one discipline for you. Because whether it's food or social media or music in the car, whatever it may be for you, you are, in essence, practicing self-control. You're practicing, hey, I have this urge to eat, I have this urge to turn on my phone, but I'm not gonna do it. And instead, I'm gonna intentionally spend that time with Jesus, intentionally go towards Jesus. And so that practice gives you the habit, and so when you're in a time where you need to have self-control, you already have that habit. It's muscle memory at that point. If you're struggling with self-control, don't wait till 21 days of prayer to fast. You need self-control in July, not just August. Accountability and fasting. Now, if you're anything like me, you heard this sermon before, and you get just so frustrated. Because like, I want to do this so bad, but I can't. I have tried every trick, every accountability, every boundary, every conversation, and it just doesn't work. It's because you weren't made to do it your own. You weren't made to self-control yourself. 2 Timothy says these words in the ESV, for God gave us a spirit not of fear, but of power and of love and self-control. For God, not you, God gives us the spirit, not of fear. We don't need to fear when those moments when we feel empty. We don't have to have fear, because with God, we have the power to have love and to have self-control. If you're struggling with self-control and you're like, I can't do it on my own, great, neither can I. None of us can. You need more of God. And through God's Spirit, He can give you the power to have self-control, the power, instead of satisfying every impulse, to be a daughter and a son that loves Jesus with all their heart. Because self-control is a weird word, actually. Self-control happens, we actually don't let ourselves control. Self-control was never meant to have ourselves control. But instead it says, Jesus, your way is better. God, I have tried, and I've tried to live this lie of the world, to live this way that makes other people seem happy, and it's not. So God, my impulses, they're not working. Let me deny myself. Whoever is addicted to that temptation, that thing you're holding on to too tightly, let it go. Say, God, I don't want to try to control it through this anymore. I want to let you control. So we're about to head to a time of worship. But if you're like me, and you're struggling with self-control, whether it's an addiction or something you're just holding on too tightly that you're not willing to give to God, this is your moment to deny yourself. There's crosses on either side, and you just say, Jesus, I give this to you. Now, I watch a lot of weightlifting videos, because, I'm a big workout guy, right? I just think one time I'll watch one of those videos and it'll work, but it hasn't yet. But anyway, when I watch those videos, I see the guys, they take the weights and they're just like lifting with all their might, and every single bone and muscle and vein is looks like it's gonna pop out their body, and then they drop it. And it goes, and that moment they just have relief. They're not popping out of their body anymore. They're back to their normal self, and they're just excited. That's what happens when we drop what we've been holding on to too tightly and give it to Jesus. When we deny ourselves. We're trying so hard to hold it, and everything on us, it's not working. And we drop it. And we feel not relief, rest. True soul-altering rest. Let that be you today. Drop it today. Don't wait. In this moment, go to the crosses when we're worshiping. Go to the communion stations and take that time with God and say, hey, God, I know I'm willing to sacrifice all of this because you've sacrificed so much for me. Take up your cross, deny yourself, and follow him. Would you pray with me? God, we thank you so much for today, that you met us here, that you called us here. And God, I know just about every person in this room, there's something that they're holding on to a little too tightly. Something that this habit that they can't seem to break, this destructive behavior that's just leaving them feeling empty. God, would you provide them people in their life that can hold them accountable, that can have those conversations with them? Would you provide more of you, more opportunities to encounter you, to change their lives, God? But more than anything, I ask that right now, they would just drop it, deny themselves, and follow you. God, we're tempted to think that the world's way, that the enemy's way, that our way is better. God, may remind us each and every time that your way is true, soul-filling rest. And that we don't need to control because you have it all in control, God. We love you, Lord. Amen. Let's stand and worship.